Hey guys, I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. If you clicked on this video thinking it's going to be a tutorial on how to make homebrew items, you should probably click off now because I'll be honest, this is mostly a storytime video, and I'm not a good teacher. I am not good at explaining things to people and how things work, so if you want better experience at making homebrew items, go look on YouTube. There's probably a billion videos telling people how to make homebrew items, and they're probably way better teachers than I am. But anyway, let's get into the story time. Now, my basic experience with homebrew, which, if you don't know what homebrew is, it's basically where you make items for tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu. Basically look at it as someone making a mod for a video game, only that video game is a tabletop RPG. That's the best way I can figure out to describe it. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot of experience when it comes to homebrewing. I only started making items a few weeks ago. My basic experience is DM makes item, I use item. And that's basically most of my experience with homebrew items. So I want to make some items that people online could maybe use in their campaign one day. I don't know why, I just started doing it. So I needed some help on knowing how to make homebrew items, and I knew that my party members, had experience with making homebrew items. So I asked them, and they told me to basically look at homebrew items and items that are officially made for D&D and see how they're formatted and all that to get a very basic idea on how homebrewing. So that's how I did it. Now, when making my first D&D item, I didn't want to go all crazy because I want these items to be used in someone's D&D game. So I had to find ways to balance them. And I wanted to start on something small and basic like a bag. So I made this. And keep in mind, I don't know how to pronounce this properly. And this name came from one of my D&D party members because, well, let's just say the working title for this item was Bag of Zoo. Yeah, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. So, this is basically my first D&D item, and here's how it works. So, essentially, this bag is meant to hold your pets. It has 6 enclosures. However, it can only hold one species each. But it can hold multiple pets in one enclosure as long as they are the same species. This is because I realized that there are some D&D monsters and animals that just don't like each other. And keeping them in the same enclosure, yeah. I don't think you want to find your pets dead in your bag. So, keeping each enclosure one species each makes sure that there's no infighting. But you can put multiple of the same monster or animal in one enclosure. And the enclosures basically meet all your pet's needs. So you don't have to really, take care of them. The bag does it for you. You could even go into the bag and play with your pets. Now, this bag actually has some other uses rather than, carrying your pets. Like, say you're an adventurer collecting endangered species. You would put them in the bag and, the birds and the bees. Yep, you can help repopulate an entire species within your bag. But there's more. Maybe you're breeding some sort of monster to sell to people, or Maybe you're a traveling circusman who carries all your, like, animals and stuff for your show in one bag. It has a lot of possibilities. So yeah, that's my first D&D item, and I did have to do some rewrites because I don't exactly know how D&D, words things. So I need to ask my D&D party if this is worded correctly and all that, and yeah. But otherwise, this turned out really well as a first attempt. Now I went to something a bit more drastic in the second one. So for this item, I wanted to make something unique. So I made the chainsaw arm from Evil Dead. Or as I like to call it, the groovy blade. That's right, you too can have a chainsaw arm in D&D. Now, there were some things that kind of bothered me about this item. For one, how do I make it function? So one thing I did was I basically made it function like a sword. And what do I do about the power source? I mean, there isn't exactly gasoline running around in, D&D. So I made this crystal that will power the chainsaw indefinitely. And then it came to, well, how do I make this weapon useful against the undead? So I gave it radiant damage if you are attacking an undead. That's right. It works well on the undead. Or, deadites, depending on what D&D campaign you're running. But yeah, there is one catch this weapon, however. In order to use this weapon, you have to cut off one of your arms. I'm sorry, but that's the price for this weapon. It'll cost you an arm, but it won't cost you a leg, because it's half price. Bad jokes aside, that's the end of the video. If you want to look at these D&D items, I will link my Instagram down below. And, yeah, I hope someone uses these items, and maybe it will, be interesting in their D&D campaign. Otherwise, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching this far, and goodbye.